First of all, I want to congratulate all of the 2017 Presidential Rank Award winners as well as the 2016 and everyone here who has actually won a Presidential Rank Award winner in the past. You all represent the pinnacle of civil service achievement. In a country where rugged individualism is idealized, and complaining about the government is idealized and is second only to baseball, is our national pastime. You inspire us all with your selflessness and commitment to collaboration, inclusiveness, and the greater good. Your dedication to the various missions of your agencies inspires us all. As the lead sponsor of tonight's event and a key partner of the Senior Executives Association, we're proud to help change the conversation about leadership in government in the public sector. We know that leadership is a special business capability that must be identified early, I'll say earlier, tailored to the individual, and managed for the greater good of the enterprise. Our work with SEA on the State of Career Sector Career Senior Leadership Survey, which we talked about this morning, revealed a great need to build a leadership pipeline for the future and a more consistent experience for future executives in government. I'm going to go off script here for 1 second because I've watched our Meritorious Award winners earlier today receive their awards. I would encourage all of you, take those awards and share them with your family, with your peers, and your colleagues. People will really resonate with the opportunity to feel like they were part of this evening, so I encourage you to do that. So at Deloitte, we look forward to working with the Senior Executives Association as we identify tangible next steps to improve leadership in the federal government and to identify and support the next generation of government leaders. It's my pleasure to reintroduce our MC for this evening, the President of the Senior Executives Association, Bill Valdez. As President, Bill is setting the tone for the overall strategic direction that's focused on strengthening the senior executive service through legislative and policy initiatives, building a leadership pipeline for the executive branch, and really establishing SCA as a thought leader in the Washington policy arena. As a past Presidential Rank Award winner, Bill spent his career as a senior executive in the Department of Energy. And through our relationship with SCA, Bill, I consider you a great friend and a good colleague. We look forward to working with you in the future. So, ladies and gentlemen, Bill Valdez.
It's rare when I have to move the microphone down. Thank you, Dave, for those kind words, and welcome everybody. I see from the faces out in the audience that everybody's having a good time. Is that correct? This is indeed a celebration. It's a celebration of your accomplishments, which are significant, but it's also a celebration of the impact that the career civil service can have on our nation. This morning I read a number of statistics that the people in this room were responsible for accomplishing. And the words billions and trillions kept coming up. It's a tribute to the individuals in this room that you accomplished so much. But what I couldn't help but notice when I read through all of the accomplishments of the Distinguished Rank Award winners was that you didn't do it alone. That, you know, throughout the accomplishment statements, it was, I had a team that supported me. It was people who supported the effort, who developed you know, the programs and transformational government initiatives, you know, that I had the privilege to lead. It's this kind of humble, you know, public servant kind of attitude that I think distinguishes the Presidential Rank Award winners, but also distinguishes the career federal service. And so, on behalf of a grateful nation, thank you again for everything that you've done, and give yourselves a round of applause once more time. It's my pleasure to welcome to the stage Anthony Bardinelli, the Federal Executive Program Plan Manager for our gold sponsor, Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Oh, it's just right. Thanks, Bill. How's everyone this evening? Fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. Well, you know, I must tell you, this is a beautiful venue, and the last time I was here was for my senior prom. And as you can tell, it was just a little while ago. I look so young. And I didn't enjoy the room at all because I was terrified. I invited a woman who was above my league. I don't know what she did, but she said yes, I was just blown away. And I was worried about not scratching my dad's car. So it's really nice to be able to see the room from this angle, this part right now. So it's my pleasure to be here at the 2017 Presidential Rank Award Leadership Summit, hosted by my friends here at Senior Executive Association. And I trust you all are enjoying this fabulous event. And it has certainly been my honor to meet and chat with many of you earlier today and come together to recognize the extraordinary public service that is being done here. I'm sure that many of you are already familiar with Blue Cross Blue Shield, the federal employee program. I don't know, you may have seen us around, I'm sure. We've been around a little while. I guess maybe you might recognize our brand. I don't know if you've seen that before. As you move across the country and the world, we're known pretty well. I'm not sure if you've kind of come across this before. You know, we are the health carrier of choice in federal government. We only got about 5.5 million members. Not the thing, just but, you know, I do have one really important message that I would like to share with you. First, on behalf of myself and my colleagues, Julie, just thank you for all that you do for the American people and for your families and staff. I think it just can't be said enough. You guys do a tremendous job. I also think that you will probably, you all are sharp, smart, resourceful people, and I think you probably would agree that you probably couldn't have aspired to this level in your career without a strong mind, body, and soul. Would you agree with that? So as the leaders that you guys are in your space, I hope you take the lead in your own health. And knowing who you are, knowing your numbers, knowing your blood pressure, knowing your cholesterol. I don't want to bore you with the reasons why you do that, but you only have one you. It's the only you can't move out of. And so I must tell you that when you don't take care of yourself, that cliff comes up pretty quickly. So my friends and I at Blue Cross Blue Shield would love you to, whomever you use as your carrier of choice, know who you are, know your cholesterol, exercise more. Hang out, walk with your families, spend time, and prepare for that next segment in life, as we call retirement. It comes faster than you realize. And unfortunately, Father Time is undefeated. You will need your benefits at some point in life. So without boring you, please show the leadership skills you've expressed in the workplace with yourselves and lead the trail to a better health and live fearless. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the evening.
Please welcome to the stage Senior Executives Association's new chairman of the board, James Corbett. Mr. Corbett serves as the Director of Acquisition Management Division at the Nuclear Regulatory Commission.
I'm very impressed. I found out today at about 11:15 that I was elected as chairman by the board. So in my prepared remarks at the table, but yet, it speaks greatly to these guys for such a great event. I want to thank Bill and Jason and the whole team for pulling off such a wonderful event. Please join me in thanking them. So on behalf of the board of directors, I want to congratulate all of the Presidential Rank Award winners that we've honored today and will be honoring. You've done a great service to the country, and like one of the previous folks said, please share those stories. I think very much that we make the most progress in changing folks' opinions of the service by sharing those stories, and they're powerful stories. So don't be shy. Please share those. On behalf of the association, I really want to say welcome to a new day. It's an exciting time. We're starting a whole new program of strategic direction for the Senior Executives Association. We've got some great leadership. The board is all behind it. We're going to be making some asks in the coming year. A couple of them I want to share with you. Get involved. We're going to be asking you, we have asked you to get involved in the communities of change and some of the other initiatives we're doing. Get involved in those, please. Share your talents with the Senior Executive Association. If you have particular challenges, if we ask you to engage with us, engage, please. And lastly, the gentleman from Blue Cross, I paid for a year of health club memberships and haven't made it near enough to cover the cost of that, but I'm going to work on that. I don't know how I'm going to find time for that with the new duties as chairman of the board. So again, just please engage with us. We're going to make an ask for the end of the year to consider supporting the Professional Development League, consider your memberships. You're all now members. In the coming year, you're going to hear from us about updating our bylaws, having a meeting for that. Please show up for those things and help us shape the future. Thank you. Either. Maybe we need an extra preparation for me. So it's my honor to introduce the keynote speaker for tonight, the Honorable Thomas Modly. Mr. Modly was sworn in as Undersecretary of the Navy on Monday, on December 4th. Mr. Modly was a Managing Director in PricewaterhouseCoopers Global Government and Public Services sector, and was the firm's global defense network leaders, where he was responsible for coordinating the development and implementation of solutions for government defense clients worldwide. Prior to this, Mr. Modly served as the Deputy Undersecretary of Defense for Financial Management and as the first Executive Director of the Defense Business Board. He also has extensive private sector experience as a corporate development and merger and acquisition specialist. Mr. Modly is a graduate with distinction from the U.S. Naval Academy and served on active duty in the U.S. Navy as a helicopter pilot. Please give a round of applause for the Honorable Undersecretary Thomas Modly.
Thanks so much for the introduction, and thank you so much for having me here. This invitation, as the introducer mentioned, I just came back in federal service after being gone for 10 years. Was sworn in on Monday. I am drinking from a huge fire hose right now. But as I said in my first briefing with all the senior Navy people, uniform people, and Marines the other day, we're getting our briefing on the POM, the new POM for FY19. I said, I've only been here for a day and a half, but I don't think it's going to be that hard. So as the laughter subsided, we moved into some really, really hard issues, as you can imagine. But I'll say, being back in the department has been really fantastic in a lot of ways. And most of it has to do with seeing faces that I saw there when I was there. And I served in the department for 5 years, from right after 9/11 until about 2007. And what's been happened again tonight is Nancy Spruill and Terry Gerke here, other friends who I've worked with and really went through some battles when I was in DOD. But the most gratifying thing to me has been walking the halls and running into the people who were GS-13s, GS-14s, 15s, who are now SES. And people who I was just praying decided to stay. And seeing them now 10 years later as members of the senior executive service and dedicating themselves to the really, really hard challenges, it's been fantastic. So now I'm trying to figure out how do I get them to come into the Navy from the jobs they have across the department, but really fantastic. So thank you so much for the invitation, the opportunity to speak to this tremendous group of leaders. It's really humbling for me to be among you because I know how difficult your jobs are, despite the joke that I made earlier. And I know how much dedication and sacrifice it takes to become a member of the senior executive service. Your jobs are the most challenging and gratifying imaginable, though. And I'm extremely grateful that you dedicated yourselves to service and excellence over the course of your careers. To get where you are is no modest achievement at all. It's truly a remarkable one. So I extend my sincere thanks to you and the people who have supported you over the course of the years of your career. And I also want to embed with you today, if there's one thing I can do through these remarks and anything else I will say to you tonight, invest in the young people who are in your organizations, because we need them. We really, really need them to stay dedicated to the country. It's a difficult time in our country's history, but we need the sharpest, brightest people to be in this room 20 years from now. So today, auspiciously, is December 7th. It's quite a date for holding this important event, because it's a date that's burnished into both the history of our country and the organization that I now have the honor to help lead. 76 years ago today, we were attacked by a hostile power seeking to destroy our ability to influence events in the Pacific and more broadly across the globe. There was great, great heroism that day from both our military and civilian personnel and employees at Pearl Harbor. Our nation's ensuing resolve was critical to delivering the world from fascist and totalitarian threats it faced on nearly every continent. But what began in tragedy on December 7, 1941, ended nearly 4 years later with total victory through the bravery and sacrifice of millions of our fellow citizens. One of those citizens is here tonight. I had the pleasure of speaking to him earlier, and that's Mr. Sarkis Tadigan. Mr. Tadigan is, if you don't mind me saying, 95 years young, and celebrating 75 years of service with the Department of the Navy. You'll get another chance to do that in a second. From being an enlisted sailor during World War II to an associate director at NAVSEA, Mr. Tadigan had already completed over 47 years of service in the Navy by the time I completed my brief summer at the Naval Academy in 1979. So the Department of the Navy and our country owes you a great debt of gratitude. And so folks, one more time, let's have a round of applause. Maybe we'll do it again. I had the pleasure this summer I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, and I'm a huge Cleveland sports fan to my personal detriment. But I was invited to escort a bunch of World War II sailors at a Cleveland Indians game, and have them, one of the sailors from the LCSs, the old original LCSs. There are not that many surviving members there. But the Indians hosted them, and they needed some folks to escort them, and so I went on the field with them, and it was amazing. At first, the resounding applause they got from the audience. It was very heartening to see how much people appreciated it. And as we were walking these maybe 15, 17 sailors up through the stadium into the president of the Indians box, people were coming out of their rows to shake hands and thank them for their service and what they did for this country. And I think that spirit is still very much alive, so because of people like you, so thank you again. So thanks again for letting me participate in this. As I mentioned, this is my first speaking event as Undersecretary of the Navy. So to be here honoring the recipients of the Presidential Rank Awards is, oh, by the way, I found out that I was doing this about a day ago. So Secretary of the Navy went to England and said, you got it. So, but it's truly a privilege and an honor, and it's appropriate for me because of the high regard I hold there people in this room. Our senior executives and senior professionals collectively are responsible for providing the creativity and leadership that allow our federal agencies and military departments to perform their missions. You are the ones who must adjust priorities as political administrations change, and they do quite often, while still maintaining a focus on the core missions you support and the people that you lead and develop. It's a really difficult job. I've been there, and I know how difficult it is. These Presidential Rank Awards recognize and celebrate the best of the best. They are extremely selective and awarded to those among us who have a proven track record of innovation, of development, and of creativity. Our honored recipients exemplify the highest levels of leadership, integrity, and commitment to public service. You all serve as an inspiration to us all and motivate us for greater and greater achievements. We need that inspiration today. We need it today more than ever because we're facing many challenges in our nation, in our government, in the Department of Defense, and in the Department of the Navy. In my testimony to Congress during my confirmation hearings, I mentioned agility and accountability as two characteristics that I intend to drive prominently into the culture of the Department of the Navy. These two characteristics support the Secretary of the Navy's priorities on people, capabilities, and processes. We must advance agility when we plan and build our future force structure. Yes, we need more ships, we need more aircraft and vehicles for the Navy and Marine Corps team, but that equipment must provide us with flexibility, adaptability, and greater lethality. And we cannot be locked into the status quo in how we acquire those assets, those capabilities. We need to be more educated and frankly better customers for our suppliers as part of an industrial strategy that sustains a modern, flexible, and sustainable industrial base. We just need to be better customers to the people that provide the material for our people. This will require both agility and accountability in our processes, in our acquisitions programs, and most importantly, in our people. And this is where you come in. We must build and advance a workforce that is innovative, creative, and courageous. Most importantly, we must do this with a great sense of urgency because our adversaries around the world are on the move and challenging our nation along a very, very wide spectrum of threats. The qualities we urgently need to advance are the qualities that many of you, and particularly the award winners, have embraced through the course of their careers. For those who say these characteristics cannot be fostered in government, I challenge them to speak to any one of tonight's awardees. These characteristics exist all over this room. And because they do, I recoil when I hear someone say corrosive phrases like, you can't change government, or it's close enough for government work. We must not tolerate this mentality, because if we do, it will become our collective reality. Rather, the most important job we all have is to seize upon the talent and skills of people like you who exist in our organizations, but who are early in their careers. Where all of you were 10 or 20 years ago, and who may not be with us tonight because they haven't reached this level in their careers. But we all know who they are. They are the idealistic and motivated, the smart and tech savvy, and the ones that are driven to do the right thing. And they're out there, and you know who they are. These are the core of the agile and accountable leaders of our future, and they want to be led by people who share those values, people like you. So in concluding my remarks, I want to go back to December 7th again, 1941. This was a moment of great uncertainty for our nation. Our Pacific Fleet was in tatters. We faced direct, lethal hostility from Nazi Germany in the Atlantic, and our allies were already engaged in and losing a full-scale war on the European and African continents. Despite this, the country mustered national resolve, put trust in its government and its military, and executed a grand strategy that overcame these uncertainties. The country placed its trust in people like Mr. Tadigan and his shipmates and their leaders and the millions of civilians who supported them with weapons and material a half a world away. This effort required urgency, intense focus, confidence, commitment, and most importantly, a love for this country. It required all the qualities that we see in the senior executives we are honoring today. And we need to instill in our government leaders of the future. To them and to all of you, I say thank you for your service to the nation. Now let's go forth from here and make agile and accountable government your legacy, the legacy that people will be talking about 71 years from now. And before I close, I'm going to close with the 2 words that I learned at the Naval Academy that are the most important words that anyone can learn. Be Army.
You can beat Army, but not Air Force. Thank you for those very inspiring remarks. And of course, I wish I'd say that we had the foresight when we were planning this event, to plan it for December 7th, and knowing Mr. Tadigan was going to be here, but we didn't. But happy coincidence, it's great. And so we want to recognize Mr. Tadigan for his service to the country. Before I do, though, he and I had a chance to talk before this reception and ceremony, and I said to him, you know, my mother was in the waves in the war and was in Washington, D.C. As a single young lady, and you're a good-looking guy, and so did you ever come across my mother here? And he said, no, you know, I probably would have remembered her. You know, I have crystal clear memories of everything until I was about 2.5 years old. He said, but there was that time that I went to the women's barracks at the Waves, and I probably shouldn't have been there, so maybe your mother was there. So, I'm not quite sure about this whole thing. But today, December 7th, does have a tremendous amount of meaning to me personally. My father was in the Army Air Corps, my mother was in the Waves. They're both interred at Arlington National Cemetery. They're World War II vets. So having a personal connection to that at today's ceremony is something very meaningful to me. It's just amazing talking to Mr. Tadigan. He has 75 years in the federal government. I mean, it's incredible to think about. He's the only currently serving civil servant who served also in World War II. An amazing career, an amazing achievement. And for those of you who think that, he may have lost a step or two between now and what it was, 1942 when you first started, no. As his prepared remarks will tell you. So without further ado, Sarkis Tadigan, if you'd come up stage for a special presentation. So on behalf of a grateful nation and on behalf of the Senior Executive Association, we are awarding Mr. Tadigan a lifetime membership, honorary membership in the Senior Executive Association.
This is indeed a surprise, I guess, to be here, and I'm much honored to be here tonight. And I'm also grateful that I'm not an SES. That is why I believe that I've lived so long. My motto has been freedom from stress. Anyway, I'm also honored that Mr. James Sperchansky, the Executive Director for the Naval Sea Systems Command, is here tonight. He happens to be my boss. So I have to be very careful with my remarks because my performance is currently under evaluation, and we certainly don't want that to be repaired. Jim is sitting over there, I think. Anyway, it is indeed an honor, a great honor, to be recognized by Undersecretary Mobley and the Senior Executive Association at this memorable event for my 75 years of a career entirely with the Navy Department. 66 years of my government service career has been devoted to small business outreach because I believe very strongly that small businesses provides a great value to the government in their opportunities for procurement of services, products and services. This has provided increased competition that often leads to lower operating costs. It expands the industrial base of support for the federal government, and for DOD it expands the base of support in case of mobilization. This is a subject which I'm sure you all realize is being considered in every quarter. This assures also that a fair share of the government procurement, according to legislation, is with small business concerns. I might mention that last year, the Naval Sea Systems Command awarded $31 billion in prime contracts for their products and services. And of this amount, 2.6 billion were awarded to small business. This happens to be the largest amount ever awarded in my career, my 66 years. So we had a cadre of people in the field, our field activities that support us in achieving this kind of record. I might just deviate a moment here. Yesterday I was at the Surface Warfare Center, Carter Division, which is in West Bethesda, Maryland, and they told me a story which is still unfolding, where this lady had advertised for sources for a requirement, $3.5 million requirement, and she only received one response from small business. She decided, without being prompted or urged, to go back out again and see if she could drum up some other companies. She was successful in getting 4 companies. And as a result, that requirement is being set aside for small business, and we're waiting to see what kind of savings will be realized in that. $3.5 million is an estimate, so this will be very interesting when we hear the rest of it. During my 66 years, the small business program, we have awarded more than $100 billion in prime contracts to small business. Now that's a pretty big business, a big number, because it's 2.6 billion is 1 year. When you go back 66 years, it comes pretty close to that number. And I think that we're always trying to do better in this respect, and we have a good cadre of people in our field activities that support us in doing this. 4 of them, by the way, were out there in Carter for a meeting yesterday. Now, I started in a small business program for the Navy even before the Small Business Administration was created in 1953, because I believed it was good for the country, and by increasing free market competition, we not only grow the industrial base, create jobs, but also provide better value for the taxpayers. There's much evidence of this, and I could take time to tell you some things that I did as far back as 1951. I challenge the senior executives that are here tonight to promote small business outreach wherever possible within your own agencies, and see that small businesses can provide you a better value for your organizations. And again, I express my thanks and appreciation for your invitation to participate and be honored at this event. Thank you.
Now, I know we have some amazing folks in this room and amazing accomplishments, but top that. Now it's my distinct pleasure to get to the heart of our celebration tonight, to celebrate our Distinguished Rank Award winners for 2016 and 2017. Undersecretary Mobley, if you'd come to the podium. And James, if you'd come to the podium. Thank you. Yes, that is the Academy Awards. You didn't think we were not going to do that, did you? Anyway, so it's my distinct pleasure to start with the Department of Commerce Distinguished Rank Award winners. Fiona Alexander. She constructed the governance framework for global coordination of the Internet assigned names and managed transition of the U.S. government stewardship of the Internet Assigned Numbers Authority functions, a project she started when she was an intern in the federal government. Richard Merrick. Advice is largely responsible for health and recovery of marine species managed by NOAA, oversaw the greatest number of fish stock assessments. And then, oh my goodness, Cheyenne Sunder transformed the Office of Chief Information Officer, Advanced Innovation and Data Goals, and contributed to the development of Open for Business Strategic Plan. Your Department of Commerce winners. Department of Energy. Karen Hindenburg delivered the Ford-class propulsion plant design with 25% more energy and 3 times the electrical generating capacity of legacy aircraft carriers while reducing personnel and maintenance requirements by 50 and 30% respectively. These design advances will revolutionize naval aviation's contribution to national security throughout the rest of the next century. Mark Hindenburg, responsible for the Ford-class aircraft carrier's main electrical and propulsion instrumentation systems, which includes the first militarized marine 13.8 volt electrical distribution system in the world, led development of the revolutionary electric drive propulsion system for the Ohio replacement submarine which is critical to fulfilling our nation's nuclear triad mission for the next century. Troy Muller secured Japanese agreement to first-time forward deployment of nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, played a rapid and pivotal role in Fukushima reactor accident response. And then Bob Raines. Through Mr. Raines' leadership, NNSA was removed from the GAO high-risk list for contract and project management for projects less than $750 million for the first time since the high-risk list inception over 2 decades ago. Your Department of Energy distinguished. Department of Homeland Security. Dominique Braccio led development of multiple innovative law enforcement training programs domestically and globally. Anne Marie Highsmith developed legal strategies to deter fraud and enhance trade compliance, resulting in 40% increase in collection of delinquent revenue debts in 2012, expanded CBP's inspectional services through public-private partnerships, facilitating entry of over 588,000 travelers into the United States. And Brenda Smith established a single window, an electronic system that allows businesses to fulfill import and export requirements by transmitting a streamlined set of data through a single window, enforce trade laws to protect the American public and business. Your Department of Commerce, distinguished. It's my first time doing this. Department of State. Van Diepen. There you go. Reduced missile proliferation threats to the United States by negotiating the elimination of ballistic missiles in several countries and transforming the missile technology control regime, making it the global export control standard, increasing its technology impact and political influence via increased membership, and adding new policy tools such as interdiction and know-how controls. Department of State. Department of the Air Force. Bob Corsi Jr. Expertly led the Air Force through the mandated 20% Department of Defense-wide headquarters reduction and worked with the major commands to reduce their headquarters as well, and a past member of SEA's Board of Directors. Department of the Army. Christina Colasar leads rigorous reviews of major Army costs and programs, informing efforts to rebalance military forces to the Pacific Theater and assessing the strategic and operational risk of moving AFRICOM headquarters from Germany to the United States. Bruce West authored a pioneering book that presents the mathematical basis for a new theory of medicine and changed the National University curriculum to include a new kind of mathematics. Department of the Navy. Gerald Borsa enabled high-value research and development programs of profound value to the Navy and DoD, including outstanding results in EW, radar, IT, optical systems and science, and electronic science. Brian Callender provided around-the-clock executive leadership of Navy ship reactor servicing efforts for the last decade, having worked tirelessly to ensure sensitive operations with potentially significant nuclear safety implications were completely corrected on time and within budget. Jody Green led effort to revise laydown of U.S. forces in the Pacific, managed DoD UK Ministry of Defense 10-year agreement. Robert Hogue ensured rights of 19,000 employees during mandatory furlough, led hiring of local attorneys to address FICA fraud, guided Marine Corps through repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, provided legal guidance ensuring success of DoD's first Warrior Games in 2015, and established Marine Corps Trademark Office. Brian Wood designed U.S. Marine Corps installation reset strategy, provided oversight of enterprise ground equipment management program, and designed an entirely new United States Marine Corps force laydown in the Pacific. Department of Veteran Affairs. Michael Frew created Joint Federal Housing Agency Task Force to coordinate disaster response among housing agencies after Hurricane Katrina, changed the way VA sells its REO, allowing VA to sell properties faster than any other national loan program. Ronald Waters led NCA to the highest customer satisfaction ratings for any public or private organization in the country 4 consecutive times, served as chief architect of new burial process policies to expand access to over 2 million more veterans. Robert Worley II improved delivery of GI Bill, implemented Section 702 of Veterans Access, Choice, and Accountability Act of 2014, developed, implemented, and improved the GI Bill companion tool. Your Veterans Affairs winners. Environmental Protection Agency, Gerald Ankley, led national efforts in development of toxicity tests for contaminated sediments, led efforts to develop screening methods for the testing of chemicals, lead author of seminal publication on new paradigm for toxicity testing. NASA. Don Shable created the foundation from which improved NASA operating model has been built, infused new operating approaches into daily agency operations through capability leadership model, a founding member of NASA Engineering and Safety Center. Kirk Shireman resolved 3 resupply vehicle failures, implemented phase 2 of revolutionized International Space Station for Science and Exploration Initiative, negotiated Boeing extension contracts saving $140 million, led ISS mission management team through 11 space shuttle flights, 8 Soyuz flights, 15 Progress flights, and the first European automated transfer vehicle flight. Jody Singer, ensured successful flyout of the space shuttle and transition of workforce, assets, and contracts, directed activities for formulation, design, and development of space launch systems. Your NASA winners. National Science Foundation. Joan Farini Mundi created and expanded the first dedicated NSF source of funding for core foundational research to improve STEM education. And on a personal note, somebody I've worked with for a very long time, and I can say I knew her when. National Transportation Safety Board, John DeLisi, led a team of 100 investigators who conducted 1,300 accident investigations covering all forms of commercial and general aviation. These investigations led to important aviation safety improvements. Dana Schultz led teams to complete more than 15 complex major accident investigations, led landmark NTSB investigation into battery fire and smoke incidents of Boeing 787, and directed completion of rulemaking for drones 6 years before FAA implemented its first rule. Office of the Secretary of Defense. Richard Burke created a new methodology and process to certify DoD multi-year contract savings for aircraft programs, saved the U.S. government $1.6 billion on H-60 helicopter and $3.5 billion on F-18, CH-47, F, and V-22. Harry Halverson orchestrated $6 billion in IT savings across DoD, captured nearly $3 billion savings for Navy, directed key improvements to White House IT infrastructure after a major outage, and was a key stakeholder in responding to OPM's data breach. And then finally, Teresa Whelan, who provided critical support to the Haitian disaster response, decreased DoD response time from multiple days to between 12 and 24 hours, and directed internal policy collaborations on counter ISIL challenges. Your DoD. So let's give our presidential 2016 Now, we're at the close of our session, and I would like to please welcome Joan Mellinson, Director of Program Promotion at Long-Term Partners, for some closing comments.
Wow, all I can say is I've heard so many stories about all the accomplishments from the meritorious and Presidential Rank Award winners today. I'm still reeling from it. I mean, it's amazing. And Bill, you said it so beautifully this morning. You said, you all make the impossible look routine. And that's the way it is. We expect it, and it keeps happening year after year. So thank you all. On behalf of all of us at Long-Term Care Partners, congratulations to all of you on your extraordinary accomplishments. I really mean that. Long-Term Care Partners has partnered with senior executives now for over 12 years because we recognize your outstanding talents and contributions, and we really do want to support your efforts. You have a very hard job, and many of you are underappreciated by everybody out there throughout the country. But we do appreciate all of your efforts. We hear about your accomplishments year after year, and it's a very humbling experience. We wonder how you and your teams accomplish so much. So don't take your accomplishments lightly. There are many of us who do recognize all that you do. Now, at Long-Term Care Partners, our mission is to provide educational information on the role of long-term care in your retirement planning. And you heard earlier about financial health, about physical health. This is about financial health. And we have the Federal Long-Term Care Insurance Program to help you for a secure future. We also offer benefits, which is a portal for enrolling in dental and vision plans. Those are the ones sponsored by OPM, and you have until the end of Monday either to enroll or make any changes. If you don't want to make any changes, keeps rolling on year after year. So I want to close by saying we're so honored to be here celebrating your accomplishments and wish you the best. Thank you for all your service and commitment, and I think you all should congratulate all of your efforts. Thank you so much. And thank you, SBA, for allowing us to be part of your accomplishments and hearing about your success.